international law enforcement in practice as sovereignty, the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So the first, mana bisa dikatakan berbeda
Ini bahasa kata mati.
Mana bisa masalah?
Dengan agak tidak apa.
Okay, the study examines how international law responds to violation of state sovereignty, particularly in the case of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We will discuss the legal principles involved, the violation commit, and the effectiveness of international law enforcement in addressing this conflict. And in the background, state sovereignty is one of the most fundamental principles of international law. According to the United Nations Charter, every state has the right to maintain its territorial integrity and political independence without external interference. However, on February 24, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This event raised serious questions about whether international law is truly capable of protecting state sovereignty, especially when the violator is a powerful country. This issue become the main background of our research. In slide 3, research questions. The study focused on 4 main research questions. The first, how is state sovereignty regulated under international law? Second, does Russia invasion constitute a violation of international law? Third, how does international law protect Ukraine's sovereignty? And fourth, how effective is international law enforcement in responding to this conflict? This question with the entire analysis of our research.
So here we have the research objectives. So the objectives of this research are closely related to the research questions. So first we aim to analyze the concept of state sovereignty, and second we evaluate Russia's military actions from the perspective of international law. Third, we identify the legal protection mechanisms available to Ukraine. And finally, we assess whether international law enforcement has been effective in dealing with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So we have the research methodology. So this research uses a normative legal research method with a qualitative approach. The study relies on library research by examining legal documents and academic sources such as the United Nations Charter, UN resolutions, ICG, and ICC documents, journals, and international law textbooks. The collected information is then analyzed descriptively and analytically using relevant principles of international law. The concept of state sovereignty. So the state sovereignty refers to the supreme authority of a state over its territory and political affairs. According to Malcolm Shaw, sovereignty consists of 3 dimensions. First is the territorial integrity, meaning that a state has exclusive authority over its territory. Second, political independence, meaning that the state has exclusive authority over its territory. Secondly, meaning that the state is free to determine its own policies. Third, sovereign equality, meaning that all states have equal legal status, regardless of their size or military power.
The next slide is the key principle of international law. There are 2 principles are particularly important in this study. The first is the prohibition of the use of force, start in Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the UN Charter. This article prohibits states from using force against the territorial integrity or political independence of another state. The second is the principle of non-intervention, which prohibits interference in the domestic affairs of another state. This principle serves as legal as the legal base of evaluating Russian action. But of the background of the conflict, the roots of the conflict can be traced back to the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Tension increased significantly after the Maidan Revolution in 2014 and Russia's annexion of Crimea. In the following years, Ukraine strengthened to cooperation with NATO and the European Union. Russia viewed this development as a threat to its security interest. Evaluated on 24 February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale military invasion of Ukraine.
So the next part, talking about Russia's violations of international law. From an international law perspective, Russia's action can be considered violations for the three reasons. First, Russia violated Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the UN Charter by using military force against Ukraine. The second, Russia violated the principle of non-invasion by deploying troops without Ukraine's consent. Then the third, under UN General Assembly Resolution 3314, the invasion qualifies as an act of aggression. 3-4, most members of the international community regard Russia's actions as unlawful. So, international legal protection for Ukraine. International law provides several mechanisms to protect Ukraine. The first is the Budapest Memorandum of 1994, in which Russia commits to respect Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The second mechanism is the International Court of Justice, where Ukraine filed a case against Russia. The ECJ subsequently ordered Russia to suspend its military operations. The third mechanism is the UN General Assembly Resolution as 11.1, which condemned Russia's aggressions. And then critical analysis. The key finding of this study is the gap between the solid and the sea. The solid refers to what international law requires. The sea refers to what actually happened in international politics. Legally, aggression is prohibited. Politically, however, powerful states may still violate international law and avoid effective punishment. This demonstrates that legal norms alone are insufficient without effective enforcement mechanism.
So we have the novelty of our paper. So the novelty of this research lies in its analysis at the gap between legal norms, or that's solid, and political reality, or that's sane, in the enforcement duties of international law. Rather than only discussing Russia's violations, the study evaluates how effective international law is in protecting state sovereignty when the violator is a major power.
So, overall, in conclusion, the Russia-Ukraine conflict demonstrates both the importance and the limitation of international law. While international law provides legal protection and mechanism to define state sovereignty, its effectiveness often depends on political realities and the willingness of state to enforce legal norms. So thank you for your attention. We will be happy to answer any question.
Okay, thank you for the good presentation. Is there any question from the board? Is it clear? Clear. give applause